Good Voch Raboisai. Lili Nishmasi Mimerosirus Bas Mordechai. Very, very important email here to start off the night by D. Block from RBS. I must protest your use of the Baldwin brothers. Male pattern baldness is well documented to be linked to the male gene pattern baldness from the mother. So to illustrate the fraternal connection between the brothers, as a case for Yibum, would be wrong to use the baldness as that. It strengthens the bond of the mother. It's Nair V'ayim, which is inconsequential for Yibum. You clearly need better research before launching the next project. Keep up the good work in any case. This guy's a sharp. I hope he was joking, no? Was he? I have no idea. If you know him, what? I know it's true, but what's the connect? You can't have 4 brothers that are bald? And what if the father comes from that gene? Okay. Whatever.
Just one brother gets it out of all the
thank you for all you do for Klal Yisrael. This is Avner Yunayev. I was inspired by your 8-minute summary. What? Mabaya? Or Kodesh? Okay, Gershon. Akol Beseder Sham, I'm Beseder. What? It's closed. I'm Kodesh closed. This is open. This is closed. Akol Beseder? Okay. You want to come down here and check it? Okay, come. Gershon, please. Get over here. He's coming. He's not joking around. He was inspired by the 8-minute daf. I don't even know what that is, but it's going to start out. Whatever it is, it's going to start again after Pesach Beis Hashem. And started to summarize the daf for my Russian-speaking congregants in Russian every morning. On Thursday nights, we would do 2 dapim. We stopped doing that because I wait to hear the daf from you on Fridays. Incredible ability to clearly explain each sugi on the daf helps me understand and then relate the daf clearly to my congregants. I use charts and jokes sometimes as well. We catch up on Sunday and Friday, Shabbat and Sunday dapim. Thank you. Kitzer, 9-year-old son, Meir Simcha, finished his first Masechtas Chagiga, had to see him in school, Purim party. Now, you see from the picture, if he comes down here, I'm not going to be able to show it, but Meir Simcha is in this picture here, you can show it on the screen, using the dap. I guess that's his, is that a Purim costume? No, that's how he dressed up, with the Oilas Riyah. He's dressed up as a Shalmi Chagiga, maybe, I don't know. The Kitzer, the bottom line is, I don't know how many people I brought to the Daf Yomi, but we send out shir daily, the WhatsApp, Telegram, to around 260 people. And most of them watch the shir. And I do tell them to watch the shir directly because it's geschmack to do the Daf with you. Bracha Atzlocha, Avner Yunayev, Queens, New York. You see, you can take it, bring it to the other languages. Akol Beseder. Dear Belly, it's Sholi Rosenfeld. Yes, the 19-year-old kid from Lakewood, a friend of mine. This I got like 3 or 4 different emails from different people. Eli Calazan from Flatbush recently started doing the daf. He loves it now. He's very into tech and hacking. He figured out a way to watch the daf on any vehicle past 2018. He posted on his status today that'll come to you, set up your vehicle in the tri-state area to hack and watch the daf on your car. As far as I'm counting, you already got over 10 people to join the daf. And he's making different dates for different communities in the tri-state area. I was very inspired by this. I want to share the story. I told Eli I'll try to make a shout out. Not only that, Eli Calazan has a huge WhatsApp status with thousands of views. Baruch Hashem is getting many to join from installing this to people's cars. Now please don't call Eli if you crash while watching the daf. Here is the picture of what it looks like after he hacks your car. Okay, Rabbi Isai, we have an amazing daf today. And we're doing sponsors. The sponsor for the koilel is anonymous zechus of Hil ben Sardina and Rivka Basfega. They should be zechus to Zeresh Kayama. Parnas HaChodesh by the Lock Lebovic families, Lakewood, as a zechus for our families. Parnas HaChodesh, friends and family, Refuah Shlema, Yaakov Yehuda ben Gittel. Parnas HaChodesh, Bresler, Austein, Rosenberg, Schulman, and Tobias families, the zechus Refuah Shlema for Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yisroel, Meir, Dovid, ben Yocheved, Druck, Shlita. He's the one who, when he found out that he was supposed to speak by the Levaya, he literally dropped and had a heart attack. Okay, so here we are on Daf Yomi Amud Beis, plowing through Yevamos. What's going on here in Yevamos? You kids, you get it? You get it a little bit? If I start, I can fair you right now. I had a Chalisha Zadas. We had a bunch of 15-year-olds in my house on Shabbos, and I asked them, what's going on? They said, no, it's not going well. It wasn't going well for them. I had to sit down and give them a crash course in Yevamos, starting what Aish Sach means. I hope everybody knows that Aish Sach means the wife of a brother. In other words, a sister-in-law. Sister-in-law is asur. I explained to them, look, a lot of these charts is just very simple cases that we have in our life. Brothers, sisters, sister-in-laws, grandmothers, we know this stuff. Not to get confused by the charts. Once in a while we stick in another piece or whatever, but it's pasha the stuff. After I explained to them, they all got it. They're not here tonight. Oh yeah, they are. Okay, we're not going to look at you, Eli. You got it? Should I fair you? No, it's Seder. They're all like, I'm not telling you. You come down and look at the Aron Kodesh the Meir, I'll tell you. You figure it out. Oh. No, it's not them, not them. Wrong side. Okay, so here we go. We were in the middle of this sugya. We have two Mishnayos, as you see. It looks more complicated than it is. It's very, very simple. One column is the first Mishnah, the other column is the other Mishnah. It's basically the same idea with a slight variation. We have Meis Noilad Yibem, Meis Yibam Noilad. You just flip the Noilad and the Yibam and the Noilad. What does that mean? One Mishnah talks about Reuven dies and leaves a wife. So, oh no, I don't know how to do, what is this? Oh, this is a laser. Okay, I'm using a new program now. Let's see if this works.
Why does it have the black on the sides?
No. It's black on the sides? It's, let me see. Hold on. Yeah. I don't know. Let's get out of here for a second. And then, it was better the other day. Oh, no? I don't know. Anyway, I don't know how to do the laser yet. Here, laser pointer. Here we go. Oh, you guys can see this? Here we go. Okay. So, Reuven goes bye-bye. He's watching right now live from Dubai. And this is his wife, the Almana. What should happen to this Almana? She should go to Yibum to this guy right over here. Right over here, this guy. But instead of him being miyabim her, another brother was born, another baldman, a little baby. So you have Meis, Noilad, and then Yibim. Now, so let's start from the beginning. This is Masechtas Yevamos 101. You're not permitted to marry your sister-in-law. There's only one case that you're allowed to marry your sister-in-law, and that is if the brother dies without children. Not only are you allowed to marry her, it's a mitzvah to marry her. And if you don't marry, you have to do chalitza. But the brother-in-law that's permitted to do yibum must be alive while that couple was together. And since, in step 2, Yisachar, we're going to call him Yisachar, even though the Gemara here calls him Levi, or Rashi calls him Levi, but our Levi is a doctor or whatever. We know him as something else, so we're just going to stick to Yisachar. You can go back to the chart, it's okay, Gary. So, Yisachar was born when the brother is already dead. So Yisachar is usher to be miyabim this Rachel. Right? That's what you would think. According to the Tanakama, it's usher for him, even if Shimon goes ahead and is miyabim Rachel. Because it's Meis Noilad Yibim. Then Mishnah, the second Mishnah that we had is Meis Yibim Noilad. What's the difference? Because in this case, Shimon married Rachel. When Yisachar comes into the world, he finds a brother married to Rachel. Rachel's not an alman anymore. He doesn't care about the history. Once upon a time, he had another brother, Ruvain, and his wife died. He doesn't care. At this point, that wife that's an alman is already married to Shimon. Here, you see, she went from being married to Ruvain, now she's married to Shimon. Everything's good. So this is a case where Reb Shimon says that he is mutter to Rachel. It's not a Eishes Ach Shaloi Haya Ba'ilamai. It's Ba'ilamai, because when he got to this world, Chachamim argued. The question is, does Reb Shimon hold that in this case also? In Mishnah Aleph. Rabbi Shai is of the position, that's what we had yesterday. Rabbi Shai is of the position, it's in both Mishnahs. Even in the case of Meis, Noilad Yibem, even in that case, where he came into the world and this woman was 100% also to him, it's possible, in this case, it's possible for Yisachar to marry her. How? If Shimon is miyabim her and then Shimon dies, then Yisachar was in the world while Shimon was married to her. And we have to understand why. One of the ideas is because Shimon, Rachel had a zika to Shimon before Yisachar was alive. You see, right over here, at this point, Reuven dies, Rachel has zika to Shimon, even though he didn't marry her, but the zika. And if you consider zika like a very strong kiddushin, then when this little guy comes into the world, he found his brother Shimon already married to Rachel, so to speak, with kiddushin. Okay, let's see the Gemara. Now, today we're going to see how they slug up, they refute this idea that Reb Shimon argues also in this Mishnah. And we have a new pshat. Rav Papa says no. Reb Shimon only says it in this Mishnah, like it's actually in the Mishnah. Reb Shimon only argues in the second Mishnah. And we explain, well, he also argues in the first one, but he just waited patiently to make his point. Says the Gemara. If this chart is true, that in both cases, Yisachar, the little guy, whenever he's born, it doesn't matter when he's born, before Shimon took Rachel, after Shimon took Rachel, he always can marry Rachel. Always. So then what in the world is the case of Eishes Ach Shaloi Haya Ba'ilamai? Where do you have a case? Nu Rabbi, so what is the case? In all cases, you said Yisachar could marry Rachel. So when does the Torah say he cannot marry Rachel? What? When there's no Shimon. That's the case. Or, what's another case? In this case, when Shimon didn't do anything. When he wasn't miyabim. He has to wait until Shimon is miyabim. Okay. Ask the Gemara. Eli, it's not the greatest day to start Yevamos all over again, because it's a little bit, tricky. There are going to be better days. What are we? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 lines from the bottom of Yudches Amud Beis. What is the case? Says the Gemara, you only have one brother here in this chart. You see this chart? One brother, and he dies. Inami, and the kid was born. Fine. Inami betray v'lo yibem. V'lo yimis. He wasn't miyabim, he didn't do anything. Because if he did yibam, the yibam is mafkia, the zika of Ruvain, and she becomes the wife of Shimon. When Shimon is miyabim, his sister-in-law, so she's no longer Ruvain's almana, she becomes Shimon's full-fledged wife. Says the Gemara, let's go back. I don't know if you can take that thing off the screen. Is it possible? Let's go back over here. Okay. On the second column, Mishnah Beis. If Shimon comes along as miyabim, the almana, so by the time Yisachar is born, he comes into a perfect world. He has no idea what happened to his brother Reuven that died. So Yisachar comes in and he sees his brother Shimon already married to Rachel. That's not an Eishesach Shaloi Haya Ba'ilamai, says Reb Shimon. Why? Because it's he's in this world. When he came to the world, she was already married to somebody else. Ki ashkecha betera ashkecha. So he found her when she was married to who? To Shimon. And that's okay. Elo noilad v'achakach yibem. I want to understand your svara. In the first column, in Mishnah Aleph, when he comes into the world and he finds a disaster, he finds a dead brother, and almana crying. So it's Eishes Ach Shaloi Haya Ba'ilamai. He wasn't there when his brother was married. How in the world are you going to remove that Isser and say he can marry Rachel later on after Shimon is Miyabimer? Why? Where does that Isser go? Says the Gemara, I'll explain to you. I hold there's Zika, and Zika is the Raisa. What does Zika mean? Even if Shimon is not miyabim her, it doesn't matter. The moment, the millisecond, Ruvain drops dead or goes bye-bye, Shimon is attached to Rachel. That attachment makes her sort of his wife. And then, a couple months later, Mazel Tov, Yisachar is born. He comes into a world where Shimon and Rachel are attached. They might not be married, but they're attached. And therefore, eventually, he could marry Rachel. V'ziko kiknusadami, says the Gemara. And Ziko is going to hold, has the halacha like he married her. Maskil Felo Rav Yosef, ask Rav Yosef. Who's Rav Yosef's Talmud? Abaya, yeah? He always helps him out. Later on in life, when Rav Yosef got blind, Abaya used to remind him things. Hashta Ziko, or when he started forgetting his learning, Hashta Ziko Maimer Misapkele. What are you telling me? You're telling me Zika is so strong, it makes her as if she's married. Not true. I'll tell you in a case that's more than Zika. What could be more than Zika? If a brother dies and his wife is just hanging out, so that's Zika. There's a connection between the live brother and the almana. What if the live brother gave money? What is that called? Maimer. Isn't that better than just Zika? It's Zika plus Maimer. It's two strong things. Even in such a case, Reb Shimon doesn't know what to do. So you're telling me just Zika alone, Reb Shimon is so certain that it's as if they're married? That doesn't make sense. What's the case? When you put Zika together with Maimer, he doesn't know. And just Zika alone, you're telling me that's so strong, it's as if they're married? Mahi, what's the case? It's not. Do not confuse yourself. Eli, check out this thing. It's so simple. Okay? I'm telling you, Bemis. All you need to do is pay attention. Yevamos is not something that you just dream and it just comes into your head. You just have to pay attention for a second, but these cases are super simple. Very, very simple. You have three brothers depicted by that green dotted line. The three Baldwin brothers. You have Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. Who are they married to? Sisters or non-sisters? Non-sisters. They're not related. So step one is that Reuven goes bye-bye. What happens to his wife? She's zekuka to who? To both brothers. To Shimon and Levi. Yeah. Levi and Shimon, Shimon and Levi. She's zekuka, so I made a little arrow. I'm starting to use those new arrows. I'm liking them. She's zekuka to both. Then Shimon goes bye-bye. So what happens? Two women fall to Levi. So two women fall to Levi. The issue is, did the first lady, okay, and there's another step here, you can't see, because I couldn't see it either. It says Maimer there in green. We can't use that color anymore. Okay. So let's see the Gemara. No, not over. When, after his brother died, Shimon goes and gives Mazal, he gives her Kesef Kiddushin. Let's go back to the chart, please. He gives her Kesef Kiddushin. And then he dies. So what do we have here? Here's a case of Zika and Maimer together. This woman, Mazal, has two connections to Shimon. First of all, the Zika principle, there's a connection. Second of all, he also gave her money. He gave her a ring. So what's the shayla? Then he dies, he goes bye-bye. What's Levi going to do here? Levi cannot have anything to do with Mazal. You know why? Because perhaps she's coming to him from two different places. Says the Gemara inside. Mazal, you're new to the shir?
No.
Mazal is the one all the way on the right, the Sephardi lady. It's a great question. There's only chalitza and no yibum. Why? Look what's happening. When you're looking at Levi, this woman is coming from Reuven and from Shimon. Mazal. First, she was Reuven's wife, and Levi could have been Miyabim her, but instead of being Miyabim her, he let his brother do Kiddushin. And now, if she's connected to Shimon, now she's coming from Shimon. Reb Shimon Oimer. Miyabim le'ezish mem sheyirtza. So he says, you could do whatever you want. You can be miyabim whatever you want. In other words, the mimer doesn't really work here. And whoever is miyabim, he'll do chalitza to the other one. Why? So Gemara explains beautifully. Yabumi tarvayu loi. You can't be miyabim both. Why? What if this mazal is really married to Shimon? The kiddushin worked. So Levi cannot be miyabim, mazal, and the second lady. Why? Because they're both married to one man, to Shimon. You can't be miyabim two Yevamos from one house. What's the other option? Daf Yomi Amud Aleph. What's the other option? Could you be miyabim? Here's the. Let me just show you what I'm talking about when I say two women. This woman right over here, this for me, and this mazal. If mazal is actually mikudeshes to Shimon because he did mimer, you see it says over here mimer. So you cannot, Levi cannot be miyabim either one of them. Why? Because they're both Shimons. And to be miyabim one and send the other one home without chalitza, you can't. Why? Maybe the mimer didn't work. And she's coming from Reuven. Mazal is Reuven's wife, not Shimon's wife. So what do you have to do? Maybe Mazal is coming from Reuven, and this woman, whatever her name is coming from Shimon. So he has to perform a chalitza to both. Lemaisa, if Reb Shimon was so certain that Zika is so strong, and over here we have more than Zika, we have Zika plus Maimer, and he doesn't know what to do, Reb Shimon. He has a suffix. So how could it be in our case, in our Mishnah, Zika is so strong that she's 100% Shimon's wife? So what's a good answer to this? Anybody see a good answer? An obvious answer. Because the Zika is not so strong because there's two brothers here. It goes half to one brother, half to the other brother. Maybe in that case it's not a good Zika. Okay, let's see inside. You know what? Midaraisa, you're right. All he needs to do, there is a Zika. The Maimah worked beautifully. Don't lose me here, Rabbi said, don't lose me. Mazal and the other from lady are both connected to Shimon. Why? Because there was a Zika that made Mazal Shimon's wife. So why can't he be Miyabimer? Because of Xera. I don't want people to get confused over here. That's why. But really, mahalachically, he could be Miyabimer.
Why can't he marry Shimon's other wife?
Because she's a tzara. I wrote in there, look, right over here, look closely. Tzaras Zkukasa, good question. Thanks for bringing it up. It's important, seriously. The reason why he can't marry the other wife is because what if she's no good? Once she's usher and she's together with the other one, she's a tzar skukasa. This one, what if she comes from two houses? This one comes from two brothers. It's usher, we said. V'yibma, ba'isechad. And Memela, and she's married to Shimon, so to speak, with a mimer. So she's a co-wife of a bad lady, of a can't marry either of them. Good. Thanks for bringing it up. Hold on. Okay, it's just a gzeira. Really, it could be miyabim, and the other one should go out for free. In other words, they're both married to the same man, so you do yibum on one of them, and the other one goes out. But it's a gzeira, because people are not going to realize that she's married to Shimon. They'll think she came from Reuven. They remember there's a brother here, Reuven. And Reuven's wife Mazal should go to Levi. They don't chap that in middle Shimon grabbed her and gave her kiddushin. They're not going to realize that, and they're going to think that this Mazal first fell from Reuven, then fell from Shimon, and they're going to say you're allowed to be miyabimer, so we don't want any issues. So we made a gzera. Fine, it's a side thing. They're going to say that you could be miyabim one and the other one goes out without anything. Says the Gemara, but that's not true. If you notice, Reb Shimon is talking about the Maimer worked, the Maimer didn't work. He's not even discussing Zika. Isn't Zika a powerful thing according to Reb Shimon? The Tanya Amar Reb Shimon, If Shimon's kiddushin that he gave Mazal works, Eshes Sheni Ubaya Levi is actually going to be Miyabim, Shimon's wife, because Shimon married her through Meir. And if the kiddushin that the middle guy, go back to the chart. I'll tell you when to go off. If the Meir of the second one is not a Meir, Eshes Rishon Ubaya. Yeah. If Shimon didn't do anything, he wasn't Mekadesher, the Meir doesn't work, then Mazal remains the ex-wife or the Almana of Ruvain. But you see all these discussing here is Meir, yes Meir, not Meir, the Meir works, the Meir doesn't work. What about Zika? What about the fact that when Ruvain dies, there's an automatic connection between Mazal and Levi, the Zika. You see, he doesn't care about Zika. Here's the obvious answer. Look, there's three brothers over here. When one brother dies, who does the wife go to? She can't be connected to two men. And if she is, it's very weak. If there's one brother alive, so you could say, halachically, there's a connection. There's some sort of zip tie going on there. I don't know why. There's a connection because there's nobody else. It's one brother and one almana. Boom, there's a connection. But if there's two brothers and one almana, how can you make a connection to two people? He only said it. In our Mishnah, it was only one Yavam. You ask me a question from this on our Mishnah? Our Mishnah only has one Yavam, right? What's the case of our Mishnah? Go back. This fancy case. There was one Yavam, Shimon was alive, and then another guy came along. But there was only one Yavam at the time, and that Zika was huge. I'm trying to explain Reb Shimon. Why is it, by this case, Meis Noilad Yibam, how is it possible that the little guy that was born after the woman became an almana, he can one day marry her? So we want to say because Shimon and that almana had a connection, a Zika. But there was only one Yavam at the time, so it makes a lot of sense there was a good, strong Zika. And then afterwards the baby was born. So when Shimon dies, the baby can marry that almana because there's a strong Zika. But in this case, there's three brothers. That woman, when Reuven dies, falls either to Shimon or to Levi. You can't make a double Zika. But we're talking about Zika now. Maimer is the Rabbanan thing. But how strong is the Zika? Maybe over here, in this case, Zika is very weak. But in the Mishnah, it's very strong because there's only one brother. It says Gemara, Reb Shimon makes a difference between 1 and 2. No, he doesn't make a difference. So Abai's question is not a good question. But Anya, Klalo Reb Shimon, don't give up. Don't give up on Yevamos. It's okay. It'll get easier. He's leaving us already. It is. It's past a lot. It's past my bedtime. I couldn't believe. I keep on reading that Reb Chaim Kanievsky went to sleep at 11 o'clock. I just don't. I don't get it. That's the question. He got up for Vasikin. It says. It seems like he had a good shlaf every night. It doesn't make sense. What? Who said? Yeah. So some people say he got up really early. I don't know because they say he got up Vasikin. Doesn't make sense. I know Yashiv only slept 2 hours a night, whatever. How it doesn't make sense. Okay, here goes. Rabbi Sai, this is going to refute Rabbi Shaya, and Rabbi Shaya says that Rabbi Shimon said his halacha that the little guy can marry the Yevama even in the worst situation where he was born before his brothers Miyabim. This is going to take care of it and knock Rabbi Shaya out completely. What does it say over here? Klal Omar Rabbi Shimon. No, not this one. I have to go back to this case. Okay. If, you see, like Mishnah Aleph, the right side column, Noilad Yibem, if he was born before the Yibum, the Gemara calls it Nisuin, there's no Chalitza. What does Rabbi Shai say? That according to Rabbi Shimon, there is Chalitza and Yibum. Nisuin, Kodim Laleida. Now if you go to column 2, that Shimon married the Yevama, and then the little baby was born. My love, And this is Reb Shimon talking. So first of all, column 1 is a big problem according to Reb Shaya. Reb Shimon says, Mefurish over here, Noilad Yibem, nothing. There's no Yibam, there's no column 1. In other words, he ignore Mishnah Aleph, Reb Shimon doesn't argue Mishnah Aleph. Not like Reb Shaya said. But the other issue is, my love biyavam echad. So we have to go a little slow here. Because a few details here. Nothing hard, just we got to hold cup here. If, like column 2, Mishnah Beis, Reuven dies, he leaves an almana. Comes Shimon and marries that almana. That happened before the little baby was born. What's the halacha according to Rabbi Shimon? The little guy could marry her. Why? Because when he came into the world, he came into a world where his sister-in-law was already married to Shimon. He doesn't know about his sister-in-law being married to Reuven and Reuven died. It doesn't matter to him according to Reb Shimon. What is it right now today? When he was born, he's not a Ishasach Shalei Lamai, he's a Ishasach Shabai Lamai. He's here, he sees Shimon married to the Almana. Okay. And the Gemara says, My love, biyavam echad. Isn't it talking about there's only one Yavam around? See, so here you see there's no difference between one Yavam, two Yavamim. Loi, Mishnei Yevamim. Here, let me show you. Look at the chart for a second. Look at the switcheroo. Not here, sorry. Oh, here. This is the switcheroo. You see? Look at the bottom right corner. The bottom, you see Shimon is, I don't know, he has another woman over there. Now, there was two brothers. The Mishnah is talking about there's two brothers. And Shimon decided to marry Rachel, not Levi, but the two brothers. When Reuven died, there's two brothers available. Okay, that's what we're going to say to be Docheg over here. But in this case, when there's only Shimon around, what are you going to say? In this case, it's different. In this case, Reb Shimon is going to agree that you can do Yibum or you can do Chalitza. In this case, Reb Shimon says you can't do Yibum Chalitza. Why? There's no Zika. But in this case, there's a very strong Zika between Rachel and Shimon, and therefore, the little guy could be miyabim. So then why do I have Mishnah Aleph and Mishnah Beis? What's the case? Meis Noilad Yibam and Meis Yibam Noilad. What other two cases could I give instead of these two cases? One case, there's one Yavam, and the other case is two Yavamim. You just told me enough community between one Yavam and two Yavamim. Here, in this case, where there's only one Shimon on the bottom, then you could be miyabim, according to Reb Shimon. And in this exact same case, but there's two Yavamim alive, you cannot be miyabim. So in the Mishnah, instead of doing Mishnah Aleph and Mishnah Beis, the way we see it, Meis Noilad Yibim, Meis Yibim Noilad, just say, Mishnah Aleph is a case where there's one Yavam, Mishnah Beis is two Yavamim. Or fakert. Mishnah Aleph is two, and therefore you cannot be miyabim. Mishnah Beis is one, and you could be miyabim. I have an easier way to make, instead of remembering Meis Noilad Yibam, Meis Yibim Noilad, one Yavam, two Yavamim. Yeah? Live like the listening with the day. Oh, here. I actually spent the time tonight, and I did. I almost missed it. Here's the same case. Look, Meis Noilad Yibam, Meis Noilad Yibam. So what's the difference between the two cases? Are there two brothers in the world, or one brother in the world? It's not what? Oh, you know why? Because I copied and pasted. You're right. Nice. In Mishnah Aleph, there should be two cases. What? No, but the other just means within the Yavam, the one, two Yavam, two, but not in the first Mishnah. It's not getting involved in that. No, I don't think so. He's right. I should have written Mishnah Beis. The point is the same. You get the point. The columns are the same now. You see, it says Meis Noilad Yibim. It doesn't say Meis Yibim Noilad in column 2. The only nafkamina is one Yavam, two Yavam. Says the Gemara. Says the Gemara, that's not good because we want to be consistent. We want to say a case where everybody, in both cases, there's two Yavamim. So then what is the nafkamina then? How do I make a difference between Mishnah Aleph and Mishnah Beis? Depends when Yisachar was born. after Shimon was miyabim or before? Okay. Vela my klala. If that's the case, then why does Reb Shimon say, if you remember in the beginning of the Brisa, Klal Amar Reb Shimon, the big klal? It's not a real klal, because once I go to a different case of one yavam, everything changes. Then you could be miyabim. How could I say a klal? Here's the general rule. If there's meis noilad yibem, it's like this. If it's meis yibem noilad, it's like that. It's not true. It's not the klal. I'll throw another thing into it. If I throw a wrench into it, there's only one yavam, then everything changes. Then all of a sudden you're allowed to be miyabim. So how can I make such a general rule? It's not a real rule. Void masav Rav Yishaya. Now, I love this. Why? Because you're in the middle of a Yevamos sugya, and then they throw in this little thing to make sure that you're paying attention. Who asked the question? Rav Yishaya. Who's he asking the question on? On Rav Yishaya. Does it make sense that Rav Yishaya asks a question on Rav Yishaya? Says Tosfos. It's just to make sure that you're paying attention. He's not asking a question on himself. One is Rabbi Yishaya, and this is Rav Yishaya. Okay, stop. So you know what's flying. Okay. Void masav Rav Yishaya. Shloisha achim shnai mehem nusum shtei achoyos. Oy isho bita. Oy isho bas bita. Oy isho bas bena. So here's the case. Very simple case. Rabbi Yisai. We're very familiar with this case. We have three brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi. Yeah, the Baldwin brothers. And Reuven and Shimon are married to two sisters. Yeah, it's not confusing. It's simple. It happens. Jonathan, Austein, the Austein brothers, two of them are married to two sisters. So it's possible. You know Austein? Michael Austein? Okay. You know all of them? You don't know this.
I know other people that
there's two cases like that in the extended Stefansky family. Okay. I don't know them personally, but I heard of them.
The same wedding list.
Same wedding list, correct. Same shviger. It's not a good idea to get divorced in that case. It'll be messy, shein kamayim. Yeah. Fine. So, two brothers married two sisters. And look what happens. Oy isha ubita, oy isha ubas bita, oy isha ubas bina. So the way you read it means, it doesn't matter if it's two sisters, or instead of two sisters, you put, here, let's do another case. Oy vavoy. You like that? Here, I did this tonight. Stamped. Yeah, it's very easy. Here, Yoshi did this for me, Mama Sharav Shabbos, of course, half hour before Shabbos. How do you depict a grandmother and a daughter here? He did Burka Lady in white with a cane. It's gewaldig. So Reuven is married to the mother. Shimon is married to the daughter. And then what of course happens? Both Reuven and Shimon go bye-bye. The two women fall liibum to Levi. He cannot marry either one of them. Why? It's a mother and a daughter. It's two sisters. It's a mother and a granddaughter. Fine. You get the idea. I apologize for the way the charts are. It's just Motzei Shabbos and Friday. It's a balgan. I don't know if you're... Okay. Try to picture trying to do these charts. There's only 2 hours to do it. And then I know the guys are waiting, and then they come in and Yosef gives me the... Reb Shimon Poiter. Reb Shimon says, don't worry about it. Nobody needs anything. You don't need chalitza. You don't need anything. According to the Tanakh, you need chalitza. Look at this. So now we have to go back. I'm sorry, I have to skip something. Here we go. Look at this case. You have two sisters married to two brothers. Brother number one died when? On Purim. You see, it says Purim. Brother number two goes bye-bye on Pesach. So when brother number one goes bye-bye, Rachel, his wife, is skuka to Levi. And it's as if she's married to Levi. So a month later on Pesach, when Shimon goes bye-bye, what should happen? Leah, Shimon's wife, should go away without any ibum, any chalitza. Why? Because her sister is already attached to Levi. What do you see from here? What do you see? Because we don't say that. The zika does not work. If zika worked, if zika is as if you're married, so on Purim, the moment, in the middle of Purim by the Sudi, he chokes on a bone, he goes bye-bye to Dubai. Rachel is Levi's wife, on the spot, on the millisecond. He doesn't have to do anything. Halachically, midaraisa, there's a bond. and then the Zika. And then when Leah tries to become married to Levi, it's not going to work because the sister is already married to Levi, and two sisters can't be married. What? It's not like a get. She becomes a tsaras erva. She becomes a skukas erva. I don't know what it's called. But what? Tsaras skukas. You're right. Skukas because it's only tsaras skukas, and she should go out without any chalitza, nothing. So what do you see from here? Zika doesn't work. Let him do. He's allowed to marry Rachel. Not such a great raya. What I meant to say, not that they're both potter, I meant to say that the second one, Leah, is potter. But of course he could do yibum to the first one. You're right, Zika does work. It's a way to, it's a d'chakaza. But Tanya, great, nice try. But it says mefurish, it says in the Bresler, Reb Shimon potter, b'shteyen. Both of these women are potter. See, that doesn't work. Omar Rava, comes Rava and says this. Shniya shebezug zeh, v'hashniya shebezug zeh. What does shteyen mean? Two wives. Let's see if I could find it here. Here we go. Rava says this case. Reuven is married to Rachel, an old woman Berka. Shimon is married to young woman Berka and Leah. So what are they married to? Sisters. One combo of sisters and one combo mother and daughter. White and black is a combo and Rachel and Leah is a combo. So says Rava, shteyem means that when Reuven dies, Reuven goes bye-bye and he leaves two women and Leah goes bye-bye. He's taking all the cases and putting them into one case. If we read the Brisa, and the Gemara is going to point it out, it says, a mother. It's a bunch of different cases. Anyone with a Lexus is blacking. Somebody's blacking the driveways with the Lexus. We don't have any guys with Lexus. Lexus is for the Feinschmeckers. That's a push of the people here. Yosef, move your Lexus, please. Shkoyach. Okay. It's a black Lexus, he said? White. A white Lexus. I hope it's not mine. Are you joking, by the way, about the color? License. Okay. Fine. Says Rava, says the Gemara, listen to this lashon, unbelievable lashon. Katoi Rava barba zugei. Rava made a mistake. What do you see from this Gemara? That even Rava made mistakes. Yeah? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Rava made a mistake. There was once, they sent a letter to a Gadol. Wow, it's getting later. They sent a letter to a Galadar. I forgot who it was, just a mice I remember. They sent a letter to Galadar. They said, our Rav made a mistake. Should we fire him? So the Rav wrote back that it's not a mistake. The Rav was right. And then he sent another letter afterwards. Says, I made a mistake. He was wrong. So the point is that you're allowed to make mistakes. You make mistakes in Torah. And the Galadar, he was mevayish himself to save the covet of that Rav. Which reminded me of another story. Rav Ganechovsky was his yard site was this past week. He was once in. I'll just tell you my favorite story about him. You should look into his book. It's unbelievable. His Ben Al Chaver was on a different level. You probably remember this because it happened to me once on Shabbos. I went to my friend's house. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I walked over to the door and I pushed the bell. And then I didn't know what to do. I was like, "Oops, it's Shabbos." And then they opened up the door, and I remember being so embarrassed. Like I didn't do it. I'm like, so it happened to a yeshiva guy. Yeshiva guy went to Rav Ganechovsky's house on Shabbos, and by mistake he pushed the doorbell, and he froze. He didn't know what to do. It's going to be such bizarre. The yeshiva is going to open up. He didn't know what to do. Anyways, a few minutes go by, and nothing. The yeshiva is not there. So he's like, so he knocks on the door. And he waits another minute, knocks again. All of a sudden, Rabbi Avram Ganechovsky comes to the door in his pajamas. I hope you weren't here for more than a minute or two. What's going on? He says, no, I came to... So his son was there. His son said he ran to the room, put on his pajamas, pretended that he just got up because he didn't want this bachar to be invoish. And he pretended that Imam just heard the knocking. He didn't hear the... Anyway, so this Rebbe Avram Gelchovsky, he took one of his Talmidim to a psychiatrist. And all of a sudden, they're sitting there in the office, and somebody from the yeshiva walks in. And Rebbe Avram was worried that this guy that he took to the office is going to be embarrassed, that somebody saw him there. So he gets up and he walks over to the Voch and says, do me a favor. Don't tell anybody you saw me here in the office. Okay, anyway. Sometimes you're allowed to mevayish yourself to save the other guy, like in this case with the Gol Adar, who pretended that he made a mistake in order to save that. But anyway, it says over here, Katoi, Rava made a mistake. How he made this mistake, I don't know, because it just says Mefurish. Oi, the Ishoy Bita. Oi, Isho Bas. It's not one man married the two types of women. It was 4 different cases.
Mishnah Bechoros.
Yeah.
Rabbi Tarfon asked him wrong. He said, I lost my donkey, I'm going to have to pay for this. And they said, you don't have to pay for whatever reason. Even Tanaim.
Yeah. Halvai people should remember when I make mistakes every day. Even Tanaim. Okay. Get rid of this guy. He makes mistakes. I'm sure you save all the mistakes. I know. I have with no doubt. The bloopers. Okay. Sorry. What am I holding? Where are we? I'm very into this Rava. I made a mistake here. And we're holding it's going to be a 3-hour shir tonight. You could leave. It's fine. Come down here and check the Aron Kodesh first before you go. Void. Tanya, Reb Shimon pointed to B'shneim min hachalitza u'min hayibum. Come on. He's done. Shir's over. See you tomorrow. Shlema, v'ishal ha'chaysa loisikach litzor. It doesn't matter. You can do whatever you want. We're going right there. V'ishal ha'chaysa loisikach litzor. So, anyways, Reb Shimon says the two sisters that fall, both of them are potter. Why? V'ishal ha'chaysa loisikach litzor. You can't take two sisters. Memela, they're both potter. V'shal shenasu tzor zilzu lo yelachal lekuchen afilu ba'achas mehem. So, if there was Zika with one sister, you hear the question? Let's go back to this thing. Purim, not Purim. Here we go. Look at the chart. Reuven and Shimon are married to Rachel and Leah. So if Reb Shimon says, after Reuven and Shimon go bye-bye, both of the sisters are potter from Yibam. They're both potter. Why? Like we said a second ago, if the Zika, the first one should be Levi's wife, the second one should go out. Says the Gemara, if it's like this, one went by Ben Purim, the other one went by Ben Pesach, great. Look at this. The story is that they both went bye-bye at the same exact second at 3 o'clock on Purim. And Memela, the Zika, happened together simultaneously. The two sisters went to Levi at the same moment. Is that possible, to die at the same second as your brother? Impossible. The same millisecond? So it's a big machlokes in all of Shas, if it's possible. No, that's not the Shaila. Let's see what it says here. That's the concept of tzimtzum. Could something happen at one moment? You're talking about what Masech did you mention? Mecharis. That's Mecharis. The whole Machlokes is Mecharis. Is it possible for two animals to be born from one mother at the same millisecond? It's Machlokes. Everybody says it's possible. The others say it's impossible. It happened a fraction of a second before, a millionth of a second before. That's enough to ruin this whole concept. Fine. Now, so we're done with the Rabbi Shaya. It doesn't make sense. The Gemara says that Mishnah Aleph, in a crazy case, that what? That the brother was born when his sister-in-law was an almana, and there's an isser of that we're going to get rid of that Isser if his other brother Shimon is miyabemer. How could that be? So he got rid of Rabbi Shaya. Rav Papa says you're right. Rav Papa, if it's that case, let's see if I can get to it. Oh, here, great. If it's like Mishnah Beis, how you doing, Avi? It's okay. It's chugging along. Okay.
I get it. It's explained well.
The only machlokes is like in our Mishnah, where Reb Shimon says at the end of Mishnah Beis, I argue on what Yibim Noilad, that when he came into the world, he found a sister-in-law that's married to a brother. However, but like on the right column, Mishnah Aleph, Rav Papa argues in Rabbi Shaya. He says you read it the way we read it. Reb Shimon only argues in the second case, not in the first case. It doesn't make sense the first case. Why? Because he holds there's no zika. The only reason to say that in case one, Noilad and then Yibim, Yisachar is going to be okay with Rachel is because Rachel was attached to Shimon before Yisachar was born through something called zika. But if you don't hold that zika idea, that's wrong, then you hold that he'll never be able to be miyabim. So, but the question that forced Rabbi Shaya to say this wild pshat is because why is there a Mishnah Aleph and Mishnah Beis? What's the point? They're saying the same thing basically. So the Gemara says, you're right. One is not so necessary. It tells me the case of Meis Noilad Yibim, which is not such a big chiddush. And then Rabbanon even argue on Meis Yibim Noilad. When Yisachar comes into the world and he finds a married sister-in-law, even in that case, Chachamim hold, he can't be miyabim her ever. That's the greater chiddush, and that's first I say the simple chiddush, then I say Mishnah Beis the bigger chiddush. That's it. That's what the Gemara is going to say according to Rav Papa. Tani give us the Rav Papa. So we learned according to Rav Papa utuif the Rabbi Shaya. Shnei achim boilam echad. Oh, so that's where I thought this was a brilliant idea. Listen. All it is, it's the same thing in different. You're taking four variables. No, the first step is always going to be the same. Reuven dies, and the question is, what happens in the second step and the third step? That's it. You can make unlimited amount of cases. Reuven died, then Yisachar was born, and then Shimon went bye before he did anything. If we even take this case, the first case, Yisachar was born when he found Eishesach Shleba Elamai. And Shimon didn't do anything. And then Shimon goes bye-bye. He can't do anything. He's usher on Reuven's almana. What happens if Reuven dies? Let's go through it real quick. Reuven goes bye-bye. Shimon does Meir to Reuven's almana. Maimer's not strong enough. And then Yisachar is born. So since it's not strong enough, he has to do chalitza. What if Yisachar was born before the Meir? Same thing, we'll see in a second. But if Shimon, in case number 4, Shimon did Yibum, and then Shimon goes bye-bye, what's the halacha? And then Yisachar was born? Here, Rabbi said, think about this case, how simple this case is. Reuven goes bye-bye, Shimon does what he had to do, which is Yibum, and then Shimon goes bye-bye, and then Yisachar is born. What's the halacha? It's just actually He is born after everything happened. Of course, there's fine. We'll see all the cases inside. They're very, very simple. Each one is simpler than the next. We did most of these cases already. There's a couple new ones, but they're all simple. Says the Gemara, I have a long, long brisa that brings a right to Rav Papa and a kasha and Rav Shai. What? I don't understand what would happen on a regular day, on a Monday, if we have to do this daf on a Monday. We go to 9 o'clock? What time did we start tonight? I did very few emails tonight. What? Yeah, but tomorrow's daf is also an interesting one. Okay. Here we go. The first case on top. There's Reuven and Shimon. And the second one wanted to do a Maimer. The Gemara is going to talk about this very interesting lashon. What do I care what he wanted to do? He didn't do it. So forget about it. He thought about doing it. The Gemara is going to say something, okay, interesting. The bottom line is, so Yisachar was born before Shimon was able to do anything, and Shimon goes bye-bye. The first one is obviously the Reuben's almana is Eshesach Shalei B'Elama. But since Yisachar was born into a world when Shimon was already married to somebody else, so Yisachar does Yibum on Shimon's wife. Why not? He's a regular brother. So he does Chalitza Yibum. Also, but what if Shimon took a step? There's different steps here. What are the options here? Either Shimon did 0, Shimon did a half a act, which is Maimer, or a full act, which is Yibum. Those are the steps right there. Okay, so now we're going to the next step. He took some action. He did Maimer, he gave her a ring. He gave her a ring, and then the Yisachar was born. This is really one case. I made it more confusing. I put it in there. Or the brother was born, and then he did Maimer. In other words, he did Maimer. Does Maimer work or not? Umeis, and Shimon goes bye-bye. The first one goes out because it's the fact that he did Maimer doesn't help. But maybe it worked a little bit. So you do Chalitza on the second one. Maybe there is some sort of connection between the first Almana and Shimon. So therefore, Shimon's wife goes out with Chalitza. Why? Because she's a tzara to Reuven's wife. Sponsored by Moshe Horn in honor of Shmuley Sugar, the original Sugar Shaker, sponsored in honor of Ed Kinsbursky, and Brian Kinsbursky, and Ari Miller for learning the Daf. You test Amud Beis on top. By the way, this Daf gets much easier pretty soon. Reb Shimon Omer. You could go home whenever you want. And I have to prepare another daf when this thing is over. Reb Shimon Omer, so Reb Shimon holds you could do chalitza or yibum on one of the women, and it patters the other one. Who's this one of the women? The other woman, the second woman. We'll see in a second. What if there's only chalitza to Reuven's almana? Loi nifter tzara. Obviously, it's not going to help Shimon's wife. Konsav ameis. Oh, now, what's the third option? That he was miyabim. Shimon was miyabim Reuven's almana. Here's the full case. Konsav ameis, and then he went bye-bye. And afterwards, Yisachar was born. Does that help me that Yisachar was born afterwards? No, that's a classic case of coming into the world after everything is over. Not when your brother is married. When Yisachar was born, he came in and found almanas all over the place. That's it. Or the brother, when he came into the world, he found an almana. But after he found the almana, the Shimon was miyabim the almana. There's a classic case of potter from everything. What if Shimon married her? That's the last case on the bottom. Shimon married her, and after he married Almana, then the brother was born. But Reb Shimon holds, we know what Reb Shimon holds. Reb Shimon holds in this case, he could be Miyabimer. Why? Because when he came into the world, he found a married couple. He doesn't care about the history. He doesn't care that Reuven died and left an almana. Reb Shimon Omer, Hoyel Bom, here it is. He came into the world when he was born. They was born. Shimon was already married to her, so he found her with a heter. And there was never is between the two. He can miyam either Shimon's original wife, Shimon's second wife, whatever he wants. Says Gemara above the Sefer Laman Katanila. Who's it going according to? Eli Miller, Meir, Katanila, Michti, Lashonile, Meir ben Yibim v'achkach noilad, ben noilad v'achkach Yibim. Meir doesn't distinguish between Yibim noilad, Yibim noilad, or noilad Yibim. So the Harvin of Lisninus, it doesn't make sense to say the Sefer according to Meir. Just say it in one shot. Elalav Reb Shimon, because Reb Shimon does make a big enough kamina, like we saw Mishnah Aleph according to Rapapa, Reb Shimon doesn't argue. Mishnah Beis does argue. In other words, there is enough community between being born before the Yibum or after the Yibum. Reb Shimon, Elav Reb Shimon, Ubi Yibum, Vachkach Noilad, Palig. Here, it's a raya to us. We're bringing a raya. We could have brought the same raya from Mishnah Aleph and Beis. We're bringing that raya from the Brisa. That what? Ubi Yibum, Vachkach Noilad, Palig. If he came into the world when his second brother was married, then he argues on the Tanakama. But Noilad, Vachkach Yibum, Loi Palig. Shma Mina. End of the story. End of the... I wouldn't call this a complicated sugya. Not very complicated. It's just you have to hold cup, go back to the videotape, and everything will be explained. Omar Mar. So we just learned. We're not over with it, but now it's going to get easy. Omar Hasheni Lasis Mambi Vimtai. The second guy, Ruvain dies. Shimon is contemplating. The Brisa says he wants to do a maimer. He wants to give her a ring. He doesn't know what to do, and then he passes away. What's the halacha? The first one is Eishesach. The second one is Yisachar, the little baby, was alive when Shimon was married to a woman, so he has to perform Yibum. Says the Gemara, what are you talking about? What is this contemplation over here? What does it mean? He wanted to, he didn't. Well, the Gemara tells us a Maisa. That's like a Maisa that your wife tells you at night. I wanted to go here, I went to the Makal, but I wanted to go to the other Makal, and then whatever, whole Maisa. It's not yet for that. But the Gemara doesn't talk like that. The Gemara doesn't tell you what I wanted to do and it didn't work out at the end. That doesn't make any sense. Says the Gemara, what happened was, he wanted to be nice. He said, let me convince her. But at the end, that didn't work out. She didn't want to take it willfully. And it happened Bal Karchach. With the loy kerebi. I hold. I guess that's the guy stuck by the Lexus. Lexus didn't move. Hopefully it's not by us and it's by the hall or something.
Oh, I thought that was scary.
Okay. We're almost done here. So according to Rebbe, Maimah works forcefully, like Yibum works forcefully, and Chacham say no. Since it's the Rabbanon kind of concept, the whole point is to make it nice and normal. It doesn't work. I'm just throwing that in. It doesn't work. My time at the Rebbe, Gomar mebiyah di Yevama. Rebbe says just like you could be miyav mi Yevama bal karchach forcefully. Ma biyah di Yevama bal karchach kedushin di Yevama bal karchach. V'Rabbanon gamer mi kedushin da alma. Very simple Gemara now. Rabbanon say no. It's like regular kedushin. You're talking about giving a ring, a regular ring. You have to have the woman's will, of course. Ma kedushin da alma medaita. Av kedushin di Yevama medaita. B'may komifligi. Mar savar mili di Yevama mili di Yevama havelela melav. The machlokes is that I learn from Yibum. We're in the halachas of Yibum. Do you learn from Yibum? Do you learn from Kiddushin? Great. Next. You can take that chart off. That's fine. We're done with that one. We're done with this one. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, fine. Says Gemara. So one of the cases was Shimon performs a mimer. He gives a ring to the almana of Ruvain, and then Yisachar was born. Or the Yisachar was born, and then he performed mimer. V'meis, and then Shimon goes bye bye. We had this already. Nothing new. We're just repeating stuff. Freebies. The first wife, in other words, Ruvain's original wife, she goes out without anything. It's Eshes Avshalei Lamai. According to the Tanakama, you only perform chalitza, not yibum. Why? Because if the mimer worked on the side, on the tzad, that the mimer worked, now you have two women. One is Eshes Avshalei Lamai, and the other one is a tzara to that Eshes Avshalei Lamai. So let's just do chalitza to be yaitze. Reb Shimon Omer biyasei chalitza shalachzman poiter surasam. Reb Shimon says no, the mimer is nothing. Do even yibum is fine. Reb Shimon Haikoy. If he's talking about the case, I explained it before, I said it under my breath. But I got it from the Gemara here. If Reb Shimon is talking about the case that the brother was born and then Shimon did Maimer, Ha'amris ben noilad. You said in Mishnah Aleph, the case of Mishnah Aleph of noilad yibem, he doesn't argue. He says you can't be miyab. Ella asaba maimer v'achkach noilad loyach. So it must be that he performed maimer, and only after that the son, the brother was born. So that's yibem and then noilad. Chalatz labalas maimer loy nifter tzara. If they did chalitza to Reuven's almana, that doesn't help Shimon's wife. My timer, mishum dahavet tzara vadai ubalas maimer safek. Vein safek moitz midei vadai. The tzara is Shimon's wife. She certainly needs something. If the maimer worked and made her a tzara to an erva, that's a safek. Ain't safek moitz midei vadai. Yasa Rav Menashe bar Zvid kamei de Ravuna of Yosef Kamar. My time is Reb Shimon. Why did Reb Shimon hold that the little guy, the newborn, he could be miyabem the almana? My time is Reb Shimon kedama taima hoyel ba mitzvah beheter. When we already explained when Yisachar was born, Shimon was already married to Rachel. That's why. They were never b'isur. Ella, the question is my time is the Rabbana. Why do Rabban say it's no good? Why can't Yisachar be miyabim? He came into the world as a perfect world. His brother Shimon was already married to Rachel. Why can't he be miyabim this Rachel? I want to show you this chart if I still have it. Here it is. Beautiful. Look at this thing. This gives it a much better understanding if you see this thing. It took me a second on more than that to chap, and I want to share this with you. This gewaltkeit. The Gemara says it says the word v'yibma. So what? So what if it says v'yibma? You have to see the whole pasuk in order to appreciate this. It says it says before in the pasuk Yevama Yavayoleh. He should be miyabimer. That's it. It says it already. And then it says she should be his wife. And then it says v'yibma. Why v'yibma? Now we understand. Once we see that the pasuk already says Yevama Yavayoleh, the pasuk already said there's bia, that there's a yibum. So why does the Torah have to repeat itself v'yibma? To teach us that even though he took her as a wife, don't forget, she's still a Yevama. What does that mean? So Mela, Rabbanan say she's still with Reuven. She's still Reuven's Yevama. She never left. There was never something that happened that made her not connected to Reuven. She's Reuven's almana. And this little guy that was born after Shimon married her, it's too bad. It's still a Eishes Ach Shalei Ba'Elamai. He was not in the world when Reuven was married to this almana. And it says V'yibma, she's always Reuven's ex. No matter what happens, even if Shimon marries her in Miyaver, she's always Reuven's. Don't forget that. Zad we're going to see. Fine. El Hadisnan Kansa. But it says, and that teaches us that she becomes Shimon's wife 100%. Meaning, you don't give her chalitza once you marry her. What do you have to give her? A get, like a regular woman. Another halacha. You yaitza yibum with one bia. So how could he continue being with her? Because it becomes his wife. Becomes a real wife. Ishla chal davar. You could even take her back. But she's a Ishesach. She's used to be your brother's wife. No, she just became your full-fledged wife. And a full-fledged wife, after you divorce her, you could take her back. Machzir, it's tremendous chiddush. Hasam Nami asked the Gemara, but according to what you're telling me, what do you mean? But it says V'yibma, she remains a Yevama. So if she remains a Yevama, then you shouldn't be able to take her back. It should be also to be Makshuk Gushasoi. V'tiboy Chalitza. And another thing, she's a Yevama. So give her Chalitza. What are you giving her a get? Shani Hasan Amakra, V'lak Chaloi Isha. But it does say V'lak Chaloi Isha. So we have a dilemma here. Is she a wife or is she a Yevama? So we're going to go with she's a wife. V'lak Chaloi Isha. So which one is it? Is she a wife? That's a typical Gemara back and forth. The pasuk says she's a wife, so you give her a get. But the pasuk says she's a Yevama, so don't give her a get. So which one is it? But she's a Yevama. So when do I say that the little guy can't marry her because she's a Yevama? And when do I say that you can give her a get because she's a Isha? Which one is she? She's your wife or she's a Yevama? You can't dance on two chasanas, but the Torah is dancing on two chasanas. The Torah tells you, she's your wife and and she's a Yevama. So anytime the Gemara has this question, Umari Isa, I could go to the right, I could go to the left. What's the answer usually? Mistabra, whatever logic dictates. And over here the logic dictates, Mistabra, Shidi Atera, Ujdi Isura, Al Isura. When you're talking about a Eishesach, or just a regular Eishesach, Ruvain dies, he leaves Shimon a Yevama, he marries her. The Torah says that's mutter. The Torah says it's mutter, then she becomes a wife to that person, like a regular wife. But over here, we're talking about a case of an Isser. We're talking about Eishesach Shelo Yevama. That itself is an Isser case. So in Meila, I'm going to say, when it comes to, if I have an Isser, let's put it on the Isser case of Eishesach Shelo Yevama. If I have a Heter, let's put it on the mutter case of Eishesach regular. Have a wonderful evening, a good Voch, and it's just going to get easier, Rabbi Isai.